Hey everyone, this is Brian, and I thought I'd do a little bit of what I like to call a response view to the co-op review that both Nostalgia Critic and Angry Video Game Nerd did on a certain video. Now, with all due respect to Critic and Nerd, I think they did a phenomenal job. I mean, they basically gave their own humorous, straight-out points on how they feel about this. I mean, Nerd admitted that when he was a kid, and who wasn't like this, has a audio cassette tape to this very stage show / live concert that I'm about to talk about. And what am I talking about? Well, the one franchise back in the early to mid 90s that really took off to the highest of points, that they even got their own rock band, was none other than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And right here in my hand is the very cassette tape of the very show that Critic and Nerd were talking about. But what they were talking about was the making of the Coming Out of the Show tour. Now, Critic and Nerd both agreed that it would have been more entertaining, probably more fun, if it was about how they put the whole show together, from on how they made the costumes, how they came up with the storyline, how they wrote the songs, things like that. But instead, what they remember is this isn't a documentary, for everybody. It's a documentary for the kids, for the Ninja Turtle fans, and when they were young. Basically meaning, this documentary is more of like a spoof documentary, or more of a fictional documentary. I mean, true, they throw in a few of the true facts about what's going on, like the North American tour that took place and things like that. But it's mostly fiction. So in other words, the people that are in the turtle costumes stay in the turtle costumes. In other words, they stay in character. They basically talk about in almost like a real-life situation on how the turtles came to be. Now, I will agree with Critic and Nerd that the animatronics for the characters like the Turtles and the Master Splinter wasn't the best that could be offered. I mean, places like Chuck E. Cheese or a Disney store have better animatronics than what we saw here. I mean, that's the honest truth. But basically what you have to remember and understand is as a kid, that didn't really matter if the animatronics were good or not. We were just glad to see the turtles. However, there is one thing that Critic and Nerd didn't mention that some of us do know of. And that is the fact that the animatronic costumes were actually a two-set. One was the set that you see here on the cover, right here. The other set was basically sort of reminiscing, a little bit more improved. It was basically more improved and reminiscing of what you saw in the third movie, and sort of more down to earth, if you will. Because basically what you had was the turtles wearing denim vests, all dudded out, all sparkling and everything, denim vests. They basically looked like the regular selves, if you will, but they had denim vests instead of shells, and they had tennis shoes instead of what you see here, which I guess in a way makes sense. Now, the reason they were designed like that, and I'll get to that in a moment, was because they did the North American tour. It was because when they did the shows, they had, I guess they had different showings for the concept of the show. I don't really know. But anyway, overall, this is nothing more, like I said, than a fictional documentary, kind of keeping the characters, keeping everybody in character, making them act like what's really acting as if the Turtles became a band for real. So, I mean, they even went as far as to have the press conference, have the Turtles performing on the top of Radio City Music Hall, changing the street names to Cowbunga Corner to Bodacious Boulevard and things like that. The Coming Out of the Shells tour, however, was also an association and sponsored by Pizza Hut. Now, when you went to Pizza Hut and ordered a pizza or any kind of special, you also were able to order at a good price, I can't remember how much, the Coming Out of the Shells audio cassette. In other words, you got the songs on there that you also listened to on in the concert if you attended one of the concerts. Now, one song was left out. I can't think of that song right now, but it's kind of like a soft ballad that Michelangelo sings towards the end of the show. I can't remember what it is. Overall, nostalgically, this is, for a kid growing up. As a kid growing up, this was a big deal for us, nostalgically. Nowadays, yes, I do agree it would have been better if we would have saw the making of how everything took place. Now, I will admit that I, like the nerd, I had the cassette tape. I don't know what happened to it. But I did go online and download the songs onto my computer, in which, later on, I burned to this very CD, right here, that you can see, this very CD, as well as of yesterday, also uploaded and transferred into my MP3 player. Now, I'm going to come out and say that the songs, yeah, they may not be the best songs that you can like and everything, but they're basically aimed for kids and for the kids at heart. That's what they are. I mean, nostalgically, they're good songs. So, if you need something good to listen to and you're sick and tired of all this hard rock, cursing, and all that kind of stuff in music, this kind of music right there from the Turtles band era back in the early 90s is the way to go. But that's your choice. I'm just saying. I also had and I'm not ashamed to say this, I also had the Coming Out of the Shells tour video cassette. Basically meaning I had the live stage show / concert that was performed at Radio City Music Hall. And I guess apparently it was also on pay-per-view at one time. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. And that's the one I'm talking about, to where they had the vest instead of the shells. But overall, the Coming Out of the Shells deal, tour and, rock concert and all that, and live stage show was pretty good. I mean, what more could you ask for a franchise that literally has done it all? They needed to do something else that had not been done before, and this was, at the time, as a kid, possibly a dream come true, because, we didn't have our own rock bands to look up to. I mean, basically we all had things like Metallica and AC/DC and other bands out there, including artists and stuff that would use a lot of curse words and talk about shooting somebody and all that. So for kids, this was a positive thing and a turn in the right direction. Now, if you also want to believe it or not, they also did a tour, like I mentioned earlier, all over North America. And I'm not just talking about, doing shows at Radio City Music Hall. I mean, they did shows in some of the biggest venues you can think of. They did shows at the Astrodome in Houston, the Sky Dome in Toronto, the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, the Cow Palace in San Francisco, the Arco Arena in Sacramento, the Oracle in Oakland, Pepsi Centers in both Denver and Atlanta, the Miami Arena, you name it, they did it. They did a few small theaters, but they also, like I said, they also did those major arenas. I think they also did Madison Square Garden at one time. I'm not really sure. But overall, definitely a good time as a kid growing up, and that's all I have to say. I agree nowadays it might be foolish, to enjoy a show like this in the making, but hey, nostalgically, you got to look at it like, hey, I grew up on it, it's part of my childhood, I can never forget it. So that's all I have to say in my response review to Critic and Nerd's review of that very show and very cassette. I hope you enjoyed it. You got any comments, just let me know. And Nerd and Critic, on a closing note, I want to say I enjoy your shows. I like how you guys give your own humorous spins on everything. Keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you all later, and I'll keep watching your shows as well. Peace out. God bless.